Hey, what's up folks? This is Keith and you're watching Barber's Auto Help. Thank you so much for watching. Well, as you guys know, I've started a new series on the 2012 to 2018 Ford Focus, and I thought it would be a good idea to do a sub-series within that series on common mechanical issues that I've seen with these. Okay, so in this video, we're going to be concentrating on the evap canister purge valve. Now, the evap canister purge valve is a part of the evaporative emission system on the 2012 to 2018 Ford Focus. Now, what is an evaporative emission system? Basically just a system of components used to trap the gas vapor that builds up inside the fuel tank. So instead of venting that gas vapor into the atmosphere, the gas vapor is trapped, and then of course at certain times it's introduced into the engine to be burned. So instead of polluting, we're sending it through the engine and we're burning it. Now, the evap canister purge valve is directly responsible for allowing that fuel vapor to be introduced into the intake. So whenever it's time for that fuel vapor to flow, the PCM will command that valve on and it will open up, and then the intake vacuum will pull that vapor into the intake where it will then be introduced into the combustion chamber and then burned. There's times where that valve is supposed to be shut. And this is where the problem is. Sometimes these valves get stuck open. So they're not supposed to purge all the time. So whenever they get stuck open like that, it can allow too much of that gas vapor to be introduced into the engine, and it can cause things like a rough idle. It can also cause your check engine light to come on with codes P0420, 1450, 452, and 456, just to name a few that I've seen personally. But there's still some more codes that it could set there. Now, in some extreme cases, the fuel tank can become distorted and cause an inaccurate fuel gauge. Also, raw fuel can be introduced into the charcoal canister, ruining the charcoal canister. Now, the last two symptoms I described to you will probably only affect vehicles that have not had the recall 18S32 performed. And I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you about that. There is an open recall on the 2012 to 2018 Ford Focus that involves the evap system. I'll post a link down in the description of this video to nhtsa.gov, and it will go into more detail about this recall and what all is involved with it. If you're not sure if this recall has been done to your particular vehicle, you can always give your dealership a call, give them your VIN number, and they can look it up to see if this recall is still active or open. Now, I'm sure that some of you that are watching this video are already aware of this recall and may have already had it performed on their vehicle, and maybe you're curious as to how it can cause the fuel tank to suck in on itself. As you know, the evap purge valve introduces intake vacuum into the evap system to suck all that vapor through, right? Well, the fuel tank is a part of the evaporative emission system. So whenever you got constant vacuum being applied to the evaporative emission system, it's going to cause that fuel tank to kind of suck in on itself. You can imagine like back in the old days when you were sucking your milk through your straw and your milk carton, you get down to the last drop there, you keep sucking, it sucks in on itself. Same thing happens with your fuel tank there with your evap purge valve getting stuck open. And there's a float inside the fuel tank for the fuel level sensor, and that sends a signal to the fuel gauge, of course, right? So the float goes up and down like this, and whenever the fuel tank gets sucked in on itself, it inhibits the movement of that float, and it can throw that fuel gauge off. So that's how that happens. And of course, if the fuel tank is filled up with gas and the fuel tank's getting sucked in on itself, of course, raw fuel can be introduced into the charcoal canister too. So, but those are extreme cases, and I've not seen that happen maybe but once or twice. Of course, the recall is supposed to correct that and not allow the fuel tank to be sucked in on itself and cause the other symptom that I described earlier. Part of that recall is having the PCM reprogrammed, so the software is updated. So I'm assuming that in the event that the purge valve gets stuck open, maybe the vent valve is opened up to allow atmospheric pressure to come in so that it's not creating a vacuum inside the system. That's just my theory. I'm not sure exactly how they rectified that, but there is a PCM reprogram at least that you need to have done. They may end up replacing your purge valve and maybe a few other components also. It's a case-by-case evaluation whenever you have the recall done. Now, if you have had this recall done, your purge valve could potentially fail in the future. Purge valves are just known to go out. It's not necessarily a problem with the Focus per se. It's across the board on many of the vehicles that I've ever worked on, no matter what the brand is. So that being said, guys, I don't speak for Ford or dealership. Go ahead and read the information for yourself. I posted it down in the description there. It's to nhtsa.gov. It's on the recall 18S32. You can open up that literature and read it for yourself. And of course, If you're not sure if the recall needs to be done on your vehicle, you can always call your dealership and they should be able to look it up for you. So folks, I sincerely hope that this video was a help to you. If you have any questions, please comment down below. I'll be happy to get back to you as soon as I can. Also, please read the entire description down below this video before you apply any of this knowledge. I may need to clarify some things. That's where I do that. And please read the entire disclaimer at the end of it. Thanks again for watching. Please like and subscribe.